gravel. I don't know if the show is still on. It's one of those reality shows that absolutely has to be fake. There's no way this is real because they would be out of business. There's no company would ever hire them to repossess anything because they break the law all the time. It's just fascinating. All right, do I have now? How do I do volume? Name volume. Let's see.
Come on. Tempo, fast and general revolution. It's like a double heading. Come on, nobody's outside. You don't. He's a short. You're not towing the car. No problem. If you step right here, we won't have to go easy, buddy. Don't leave on there. We don't know you think you are, dude.
Hey, let me let you know something. First of all, I'm a black belt. 6'3" black belt.
I got a brown one. You don't know how many times people told me that number right.
You guys, you're not taking that hard.
I'll give you manage. What's my belt?
Oh my goodness.
I gotta stop it. So what was the first point when this repossession became illegal? What? Yeah. So I think if we scroll back, here.
You're not towing the car.
And maybe even a little earlier. You're not towing my car. Okay? At that point, was there a threat of violence? Yeah. And it's the threat of violence. It's not violence. But okay. So let's scroll through this. Was this okay? Where was it? Right there. Is that good? No, that's violence.
Yeah.
All right. You are entitled, as a secured party, to engage in self-help repossession. This is one of the great aspects of secure transactions. You do not have to have a court to approve repossession. You can just go do it. But you cannot do this. You cannot breach the peace. And that's the lesson that I wanted. There's no part of this that's okay. She gets in the car. There's a karate chop. They throw them. All of that. Bad, bad, bad. Don't ever let your... Now, so, is the loan company liable for this? Yeah. Right? These are their agents. They are totally liable for this. So, please, don't ever... Okay, we'll do some problems that we're talking about this. But this is so obviously bad. This is the extreme. Yeah.
Is that conversion?
Yeah, if it's not illegal. Yeah. They have a right to the car, but they have a right to the car only through self-help repossession if they do it legally. So, what's the alternative? And I talked about this last class. What's the alternative? If you have a debtor who you know is going to threaten you, replevin. Absolutely right. Is that a court case? Yes. Is it a judicial process? Is it reducing the case to judgment? No, that's exactly right. It is not. Replevin is a writ that allows you to go to court and get your property back. So if your roommate steals your stuff, you can get a writ of replevin to get it returned. Because it's your stuff. You don't have to prove it. I mean, you have to prove to the judge that the writ's appropriate. But you don't have to have a conversion case to do it. It's your stuff. You're entitled to it back. And that's the thing that's a little bit wacky about replevin here, right? Who technically owns the collateral? The debtor. Okay. Is that a raspberry or is that a drill? Hopefully that's it.
Oh man.
Okay. That's all the reason piece. By the way, I did not realize until I was looking at myself in the mirror as I was leaving that I had dressed up as, Fred Black. That was not the intent. I'm not going to some event. It's not pepper earlier. It just happens when I'm Fred Black. I know it. Go cards. Okay, questions about any of this? This is 609, right? Yeah. You can go to get the sheriff. The sheriff has a gun.
What's the difference between a written replevin and a judgment?
Okay, great question. So what would, under 601, are you, put aside Article 9. Somebody owes you money. Are you allowed to go just collect stuff? No. That's why unsecured creditors don't have any rights with respect to collateral. Okay? You don't just get to go take the debtor's stuff. The security agreement changes that. But it doesn't eliminate it. You have the right to proceed as if you were unsecured. Okay? In this one.
Yeah.
Just go south.
So think of it this way. You can bring a lawsuit under the law for a judgment for a contract violation. And one of the remedies that a judge can issue is the right to levy on the assets of the secured party, which is going to deal with that. Okay, on the assets of the debtor. Okay, that's a lien. You get a lien on their property. Unsecured note, go to court, prove the debt. Court issues a remedy that allows you to get a lien on the property. Okay, that's what a judgment lien creditor is. You can proceed as if you want to be a judgment lien creditor under Article 9. That's what 9601 tells us. But you don't have to. The security agreement changes your status with respect to the collateral. You now have a right to that property. Okay, and the writ of replevin is a type of equitable remedy to get the property. Please, are you fixing the elevator?
Oh, maybe.
Yeah, something like that. So the difference between reducing it to judgment and getting a lien through the judicial process and Article 9 repossession is that you don't have to get approval of a court that the debt is owed and you have a right to the property, which is what a judicial lien creates. The court-sanctioned right to go and collect the property. That's what unsecured creditors have to do. They cannot just go to a person's house and take their stuff. Because they don't have an interest in the collateral. The security agreement is, in essence, a conditional right to the property. What's it conditioned on? They have a right to the collateral. What has to happen first?
Default.
Default, yes. 601 tells us you have, after default, the rights under Article 9. 609 says, after default, you can go collect the property. So you don't have an automatic right, you have a right conditioned upon default. Where's default defined? The contract. The security agreement sets out the terms of what default is. If there's a promissory note and no other language is included, there's at least always payment. Okay? But default can be anything that the parties agree to. All right, let me just go check one thing. If the guy working on the elevator.
That's crazy. I want to see the for a second.
Yeah, I was so confused. Like, why would? The first time I heard of my car, I would be liable for.
What happened? That's again.
I have a feeling that True TV might pay for the default, you know, and like in exchange for the rights to show the.
Yeah. Because you can't even put money on camera.
Right. Actually, they agreed to whatever the channel or the production company or the page or however whatever the judgment says to party that like so that way if you're the
They
finished.
said that should be it. They're putting in a doorstop in front of this classroom upstairs, so hopefully they're done. It's like they don't work for a university.
I have a question about the exam.
Sure, but let's put that off. Okay. Yep.
You went upstairs that fast?
I'm
Good.
Okay, so that's what. So today we're going to talk about repossession and sale. Okay, a little bit more about. We'll do some more problems, but or I should say more like what happens after repossession. That's today. We are meeting on Friday. I think we'll get to the stuff on redemption and strict foreclosure on Friday. The last little bit in this chapter. It's not too much stuff. We'll cover it quickly. Today's material is about the obligations that the secured party has after they get the collateral. So they either self-help repossess, or they use a writ of replevin, or they go to court and get a judgment and get it given back to them. But normally, if you go by, just to finish this thought off, if you go by the system outside of Article 9, you have to follow the rules outside of Article 9, okay? So there is a method under the law for foreclosing on chattel. Usually it's related to something called chattel mortgage, all right? So there's a procedure that's you're gonna have to follow. Every state has their own version of it. It's not uniform the way Article 9 is. I don't test on those procedures in this class. You don't have to know them. You just have to know they're available. That's it. You can reduce it to judgment and proceed as if this were foreclosure, but you don't need to know those foreclosure rules, right? Now, as an attorney, why would you not use Article 9? You could just go get the stuff. Nobody, unless you are so paranoid that the debt is not clearly owed, or there's some procedural advantage in your state for using the non-Article 9 system, I can't imagine you would use it. There may be fact situations where the debt is so problematic that you're not sure it's owed that you want a judgment. But if you have a promissory note signed by the debtor and clear records about how much money has been paid, there's nothing to argue about. You got the promissory note, and that's commercial paper, right? Those of you who've taken commercial paper class know that that document itself is self-executing. You can just foreclose, you can collect it just by having the piece of paper. So there's very few circumstances where you wouldn't go under Article 9. Now, Article 9 does have procedures built into it to protect debtors. Right? It's not free-for-all. The breach of the peace rules are part of those protections, right? You don't get to go to the debtor's house and do a karate chop. No, right? Can you trespass, right? So he drove onto the driveway. Did I say that was a problem? Probably not. It's probably, although technically a trespass, it's probably an excused trespass, right? You're allowed to go onto the property. It's called curtilage. What we don't see the courts allowing is breaking and entering, right? You're not likely going to be allowed to enter into the dwelling house, particularly or the garage, particularly if you have to break the door down or break the lock to get in. That's not going to be permitted. That's going to be a breach of the peace. All right. It's funny though, right? Yes. So, I mean, there are cases where I would imagine a court would be okay with garage doors open, nobody's around, it's dark. Yeah, I would say that that's probably okay. The more peaceful the opportunity to get the vehicle back, the better. And an open garage doesn't feel as much like burglary as breaking, giving a lock. So, but going into the house, forget it. I don't think any court would ever accept that as being okay. Even if the contract said I waive my right, you can't waive this right. 602. You cannot waive the agreement that a repossession cannot breach the peace. That cannot be waived by the debtor. Why would that be? Well, think about what's going on here. We got a fight going on. The police may have to be called. Neighbors may get involved. The people next door may really like the person who owns the car and come across and continue the fight. Maybe it gets even more violent. There's an aspect of the effect on the community that the breach of the peace involves. And the debtor should not be allowed to waive that concern for the community, for the safety of the community. All right, so we got to problem 30. What was the last one we did? We did 133. Let's see. Okay. So, no, maybe 131. Is that the next one? We skipped over 127. Okay, so we have to talk about the repossession of the car here. That's all right?
Sound good?
131. So, question A. What happens? What does the secured party do in repossessing the collateral?
You got broken the car, which is a breach of peace or something.
Okay. Where was the car parked? Let's start there.
His driveway.
All right. Do we think entering onto the property for purposes of repossession is automatically going to be a breach of peace?
No, because we were just talking about just a driveway, it's probably okay.
Yeah. It's probably an excused entry onto the property. You're not breaking into a dwelling, you're only entering onto the privileged area of the land. Okay. What else? They broke the window. You think that'll be a problem? What time of day was it?
Do it.
Is the fact that it's nighttime a good factor or a bad factor?
I like, to me, I think that
Why?
I mean, you have a right to take it. I don't think it's leaving around night time.
I'm going to tell you an expression that one of the, I think it's White Summers in their treatise on this say, nighttime is the right time. Okay? And the reason is why? It reduces the amount of risk of a breach of the peace, doesn't it? I mean, if it's late at night, are there more or fewer people around? Probably fewer. So you're probably okay. In fact, you'll probably see a lot of repos occurring at night. Typical ones where they have trouble pulling them. So I don't think there's anything wrong with going at night. Although I can see why you're worried about it, right? You're like, oh my gosh, it feels like they look like burglars when they show up, right? Breaking the car window? What do you think? Well, they gotta break into the car somehow, don't they? They gotta do something to it. What's that called? Slim Jim, right?
Yeah, if they're professional repo people, they probably have one of those. Not a rock.
Not a rock. Okay. He complains about the repossession. When does he complain?
Here's the window break, comes out, starts yelling. So that would be a breach of the peace.
That certainly would be a breach of the peace. Breaking the window, could you see a court saying that feels like it's too much? Yeah. I'm not going to say, I can't tell you one way or the other, right? I could see a court saying, don't break in the window. Oh my gosh, it's loud. But there's nobody around. It's the only way you can get into the car. Yes. There are possibilities for, does the secured party have an obligation to take care of the collateral once they have it? What's the section that tells us that? 207, right? 207 says that they have to use reasonable care. So the question will be, was it reasonable to break the window? I like the idea of, they got the Slim Jims. They could, repo, what do you call repo persons? Right? I don't know what's the technical name for that? Repo man is more of a casual name. Collection agents, I guess is what we call them. But I don't want to denigrate. I mean, it's a job, just like any other job. They have usually have tools, like when you repossess a car on the street, there's a way to disconnect the transmission, right? And then the car rolls away. That's how they do it. They go underneath, they disconnect the transmission, and the car can be pulled away. Because, you've got the parking brake on, right? So if you've got the brake on, how does the car go? Well, they can mess with the car. But that's okay. That's not breaking. Breaking it feels kind of bad. If he protests at the time of the repossession, we probably have a breach. If he protests afterwards, I would have punched you in the face. Am I going to be a breach of the peace? If you come back here ever again, I'll punch you in the face. Breach of the peace? The comment, oh, sorry, go ahead.
The car's already gone?
Car's already gone. Too late. The comments talk about imminent threat to a breach of the peace, right? It's not hypothetical. It is that it's more likely that it's going to happen. It's imminent. It has to be something that's going to occur now. If the car's already gone, it's too late. Right? So it's at the moment when the car is being repossessed. Okay. B. The brother-in-law who is a sheriff comes along. Problem with that? Why? Self-help repossession cannot involve the police. The sheriff doesn't matter. Anybody pointing a gun? Is that okay? No. Any use of force against the debtor is going to be a breach of the peace. So B, I'm going to say no go ever. Cannot bring along law enforcement. C. When no one was at home, they broke into the garage for the use of the services of a locksmith. What do we think? Breach of the peace? Yeah. The entering onto the property is probably excused, but burglary itself is not. So breaking and entering, things like that are not going to be excused. Don Jose phoned Morales and said the car was being recalled because of an unsafe engine mount. Brought the car that morning, and when the time came to pick up the car, he said, "Ha ha, that was a joke. I'm keeping your car." Is that a breach of the peace?
No.
Well, there's a quoted case in Alabama that says that's not fair. You can't do that. But there are many cases that say, right, trickery is cool because it gets people to do stuff without any threat of violence. So I think in a lot of jurisdictions that would be okay. Be okay to allow. All right. Questions about problem 131. The best part of the case, the Hillman versus Covado case, is the, here, I want to make sure I read this correctly. To hell with this, we're taking the cows. I love that language. None of this is okay. Okay, right? First of all, he brought along law enforcement. Second, he disregards what law enforcement tells him. He gets told by the people that are like, don't take it. And he runs into the barn and he starts beating on the cows, and every part of this is bad. So that's why the case is in here. But the stern warning by the owner, I do not want you to take my stuff. But let's flip that over. What if they said, I'd really rather you do, but I'm not going to stop you. Breach of peace? No, that happens a lot. There are a lot of cases where courts have said, no, it's okay. There are cases where they go to the house and they talk to the child. And the child says, yeah, come on in. Now, if it's a young child, they're probably not going to be okay with it. But an older kid, somebody else will be in the building, like a roommate. Roommate says, yeah, come on in. I'm taking the debtor's stuff. Are you okay with it? I don't care. Walks out with it. Probably all right. Okay? So that's the flip of that. If they don't protest, they actually give the creditor, the secured party, I should say, the right to foreclose. And that's going to be okay. All right, problem 132. All right, we're on now 358. Octopus National Bank financed Melanie's purchase of a new car. The loan agreement provided that on default, the bank had all the rights in Part 6, and the parties agreed that the bank would not be liable for conversion. And this is a payment. They take the car, in the dead of the night from its parking place in front of her home, she protested the next day, claiming that her golf clubs were in the trunk. The only thing that this question really is asking is, have they done anything wrong by stealing other stuff? Yeah.
Yes, there is a right to resolve that.
Sure. They're not collateral. Have they done something illegal that ruins the repossession?
No.
Okay, so she's entitled to her golf clubs back. Maybe there might be some liability for conversion if she can establish that the clubs were in the car. So if you're a secured party and you know that these rules are out there, what would you tell all the repossession companies that are working with you? Do an inventory, see what's in the car, and make sure that we can get it back to the debtor, because we only have the car as collateral. I keep saying car. There's very little else that's commonly viewed repossessed through self-help, because it's usually inside. It's, even if it's movable, it's probably located in a building. So, but construction equipment, I could see that being just out on a work site, and around to the work site, drive off with it. Yeah.
But another example would be like a boat in a marina.
Sure. I don't think that would be a problem at all, right? Just walk down to the dock, hop in, you have a key, or you hotwire it. Sure. Why would that be a problem? Be great. Good question.
Say you're at a construction site and they have like some kind of There's a chain up there, but it's not really like that secure. Like, where does it cross the line between breaking in and just a hidden?
Yeah, it gets to, this is not clear. Cutting through a fence, not ideal. Particularly if properties, like, so the construction stuff is problematic because it's often on somebody else's property, right? The construction equipment is located on a third party who's not related to the debt. Is it okay? Do you have permission to trespass on someone else's property? Sure. Doesn't feel as right. What if it's parked in Walmart's parking lot? Can you repossess it there? Well, it's Walmart's parking lot, but it feels kind of public. Yeah. There's no clear line that I can say yes or no. What you have to do if you're answering this question is say, you can't do it with a breach of the peace. If it's on a public street and there's nobody challenging you, it's clearly okay. If there's a threat of violence, either, and the debtor can be the one who threatens the violence. That's the cool thing here, right? So if you're the debtor, what should you do? Carry a gun. You point a gun at the person coming to take the car back, that's breach of the peace. You caused it, it's still breach of the peace. Right? The guy says, I'm a karate expert. Breach of the peace. At that point, the towing company has to leave. Now, can they come back later? Yes?
I would think so. Well, if they've already breached the peace, you mean?
Yeah, but they stop. There's a risk of a breach of the peace, and they leave. They don't repossess. Can they come back later and do repossession later when it would be a breach of the peace?
I would think so, but the collateral probably won't be there.
Well, it may not be, but if it is, they're fine. Remember, your rights under Article 9 are cumulative. You can exercise them as much as you want. There's no race judicata here. You get to come back as often as you need to get as much collateral as you're entitled to pay off the loan. You're not prohibited from coming back. There's no law in Part 6 that prohibits you from coming back. 133. There's kids in the back. What's that called? Yes. In the case that's cited, as I recall, the repo man came back with the car, dropped the car off, and gave the kids back. That was deemed okay because they came right back. So, oops.
So like,
But it's a bad idea.
How can I go down to that's like on the breach of the peace with this guy if he just like that
Yes.
would be-
Yes.
Okay.
But he gave the car back.
Okay.
So that ended it. It wasn't a repossession. So there's no, since the repossession was terminated, the debtor still has the collateral. So it's not, at least the Article 9 part of it is okay. Now, is there also law that makes it illegal to take people's kids? Oh yeah, right? This is a terrible idea, and it happens all the time, right? They see the car in front of the 7-Eleven, and they hop in, they drive off, and there are 4 kids sitting in the back. Oh, that's bad. Yeah. You bring the car back. You obviously give the kids back, but you bring the car back and you walk away. Yeah. Yes. All right, 134. Jessica, she shows up with the car and intends to surrender it. Can OMB say, no thanks, I'm suing you?
They're definitely that close.
Where does it say that?
I thought you said they were.
Where does it say they have to do what the debtor says they want? The debtor says, I want you to foreclose on my car. Where does it say that the secured party has to foreclose on the car? I forgot my copy of the code. That is absolutely negligent on my part. Is there anywhere in the code that says you got to do what the debtor tells you when it comes to how they proceed for seeking repayment of the loan? Right. They can say no thanks. Yeah. Why would they do that? Do you think? Why would, in this circumstance, what would be a fact pattern? Maybe the car's in terrible shape. Maybe they realize they could never sell it. Maybe they think there are other assets that they can go and get. Right? Forget the car. The car's not worth anything. We're just going to sue you and go after other collateral. They can do anything they want in terms of choosing how they get repaid. Either waiting for the payment, foreclosing on the assets that are collateral, or suing and getting a judgment. They can do any of those. They're not bound by any restriction. Sorry. I just looked back and I was like, oh, we're hugging. Yeah, it doesn't, yeah. All right. The one thing I want to emphasize at this point is 362K of bankruptcy code. So if you're the debtor and you know that this is possible, how do you stop it? You file bankruptcy. If you file bankruptcy, none of this is legal. It's all illegal. There's no breach of the peace. It's just stop. What does a creditor have to do to be allowed to foreclose once the debtor has filed bankruptcy? They have to move for a relief from stay. They can. It's not guaranteed, though. And if there's some argument that the collateral is required for the reorganization, so it's a Chapter 11 bankruptcy, the court's going to say no. But if the debtor has no equity, or it's a Chapter 7 liquidation, probably they're going to get relief from stay. But instead of being able to go that day and get the car, they're going to have to wait several months, or maybe even years, until they're allowed to do it. The worst part about it is 362K. You're liable for damages. And what the bankruptcy court can do is, 362K says, an individual injured by any willful violation of a stay provided by this section shall recover actual damages, including costs, attorney's fees, and in appropriate circumstances may recover punitive damages. So that's the stick that the bankruptcy court has against secured parties for overstepping the automatic stay. They can be liable for punitive damages. So they're very good about not violating the automatic stay. Again, there's a little reference here to strict foreclosure. We'll do that next class. I'll just explain what it is. It's keeping the collateral instead of selling. Okay. All right, so let's look at 136. This is on page 360. After Knight Flower Loan Company has repossessed Lynn Brown's car, it decided to advertise it for bids in a local newspaper. Is this a private or a public sale? Okay, so we got the car. It's legally repossessed. Let's start talking about what we have to do after that. Right, so we talked about how you get it. Now you got it. What do you have to do? One option is sell it, right? 610. You can sell, lease, license, or otherwise dispose of the collateral. You don't have to do any of that, but you can do. You're not required to do any specific thing, but you can do any of those things. Okay? Including, isn't there language in 610 that says use the collateral? Yeah, I forgot my copy of the code, which is completely negligent. I freely admit to that. Okay. 610. Yeah, don't confuse the two codes. All right. So, what kind of sale is this? They're advertising it. Public or private sale? Put your hand up if you think this makes it a public sale. Put your hand up if you think this makes it a private sale. None of you? What does the facts say? What does the advertisement say? According to the problem. What are they advertising for? Okay. Is that going to result in a public sale or a private sale? It's going to be a private sale. What's a public sale? An auction, yes. A public sale is an auction. Does everybody know what an auction is? You've probably never been to one, but they are exactly like you've seen them on TV. A person stands at the front of the room, or if it's a real estate sale, like down the lawn, starts offering out prices to people, people raise their hand and bid, and then the highest bidder wins. That's public because you advertise it publicly and you invited anybody to show up. If you're negotiating a private contract between you and one other party, that's a private sale. Okay? So the advertisement that, hey, do you want to come talk to me about buying this stuff is not an auction. That's a private sale. Okay? Now, what's better for the price? An auction or a private sale? What do you think?
Auction, you have more people? I don't know.
Auction, you have more people, but who said private sale? Why private sale?
Well, say, when you go to an auction, you're just bidding against whoever else is there, so I usually go below market value.
They actually do, that's right. In most cases, particularly with personal property, auction sales tend to get lower prices, unless they're well done, right? So if you've ever seen, I think it's in the Mecum, it's a car sale auction. Those are high value cars, but they invite essentially investors, for lack of a better, collectors, sorry, better word, collectors to these things. Those auctions are actually designed to get very high prices. But Article 9 prefers private sales because private sales usually give better prices. When was the last time that you knew somebody who bought a house at a public auction? Yeah, but did he get a good price?
Yeah.
Why? Auction actually brings a lower price for real estate in the U.S. They're usually distressed houses, right? If it's a foreclosure sale, you get to see the house. Oh, okay, we'll say it's all right. They use auction sales, unless they're well done and have a big audience, often bring in lower prices than retail. What Article 9 wants the secured party to do is to have time to sell in an orderly fashion. So the way you normally sell, let's say, real estate houses is not by an auction, but by inviting bids, right? I'm selling my house, I'll take however long it needs, and I'm going to get the best price I possibly can, but I'm going to have time to sort through the offers. So Article 9 doesn't dislike private sales. In fact, it prefers them, because they tend to bring higher prices because you don't have to rush to sell it on a given day. Okay. It's not that auctions are inherently bad, it's just that they tend to be rushed. There's a particular kind of purchaser there, and the purchaser at an auction almost always is trying to pay less than full fair market value. Right? They're going to walk away from an auction. If the price gets close to fair market value, they're going to walk away because it's not worth it. If you're buying it to resell it, and you're buying from an auction, there's no money in buying at fair market value. It has to be below fair market value for it to make sense if you're a commercial buyer. And that's usually applies to these things. Okay. Questions about that? Let's fix that. Now, let's see, that was 136, right? If the car would be sold on an internet auction, would it be sufficient to give notice of the web address of the auction and the physical address of the auction company? Probably, right? I think the case that's cited here says that it was sufficiently public for it to be a public auction. Is eBay an auction? Yeah, I think that would count as a public auction. Yeah. So that's a good example of an electronic version of a. After resale, MyFlyer simply sent her a statement saying the amount that was owed was $3,200. She's unsure and comes to you, her attorney/cousin. Always a terrible place to be. Attorney/cousin, or attorney/friend. Terrible, right? The worst thing that you can ever do is provide advice to your friends. And this has got nothing to do with Article 9. Giving advice to your friends is a bad, bad idea. Giving advice to your relatives, bad, bad idea. Why? Because they expect to get a really good price, usually zero, and they never feel like you're good enough. I have on many occasions been asked by my relatives, they give them advice, and I always give them what I think is absolutely the best advice, and then they don't follow it. And it's like, well, why did you ask? Well, you know. Or then they go hire somebody else, and you're like, but I told you that. And you're like, okay. You don't believe me. You're sitting there going, well, I'm going to give good advice, and everyone believes me. Terrible idea. Don't. Here's the worst part. You can't fire them. How do you fire your friends as your clients? Can you fire clients? Absolutely. If clients start lying to you and start not paying your bill, you fire them. Okay? You can't fire your relatives, and you can't fire your friends. Because if you do, they're not your friends anymore. And if they're your relatives, Thanksgiving sucks. You took property. How many cases in that casebook were relatives suing each other? Right! It's actually a family law course. All of those cases in there are usually like the nephew suing his aunt. It's like all over the place. Yeah, don't do work for your family. I know you're going to do it, and you're not going to believe me, and 20 years from now you're going to go, oh, I shouldn't have done that. Okay. Do you think you do a good job with the notice? That's what this is about. So, do you have to give notice of the sale? Yes. Right? What section? 611. Great. How soon do you have to give notice?
I won't leave that.
Yes. Why are you confused?
Because it separates it out for, it says if the collateral is other than consumer goods, so I just, I don't know.
Okay, stop. If it's other than consumer goods. What is, so 612 has a safe harbor provision, right? The 10 days?
Or non-consumer transaction.
Yes. It has a safe harbor, right? So let me pull that up. 9-612. In a transaction other than a consumer transaction, so first it says, except as provided, whether a notification is sent within a reasonable time is a question of fact, so you got to give reasonable time, reasonable notice, 611. But 612B says there's 10 days in non-consumer transactions. So how many days do you need in a consumer transaction? Does that make you concerned that there's no statute that tells you how many days is reasonable in a consumer transaction? Let me tell you why there is no such statement. The consumer advocates who were at the negotiating table for this section back in 99, 98 were arguing for a set period of time, like 20, 30 days, whatever. And the banks refused to agree to the terms that the consumer advocates were asking for. Mostly banks were at this meeting. Since they could not agree, they did not come up with a consumer-based safe harbor. Okay? So they leave it to the courts. That's what the comments of the section say. They leave it to the courts to decide what is fair in a consumer transaction. Not ideal. In a non-consumer transaction, 10 days. Okay. How much notice did she get? Does it say in the problem? This is post-sale. After the sale, they send her a letter saying, you owe us $3,200. What section of the statute did they use to calculate the $3,200? Or should they, at least they should have used to calculate. What section of the statute tells you how much you owe in a deficiency? I heard something mumbling. 615. How do you know that that's the right section?
Application of proceeds, disposition of liability.
It actually just says, what do you do with the money that you get from a sale, right? That's what it says. Okay, great. So, what's the first thing you pay off? 6A1, 615A1. What's the first thing you pay off? I got it on the board. Come on, what's the first thing you pay off? The expenses of the sale. So the auctioneer or whoever is helping you with the sale, whatever expenses you've incurred in order to be able to sell the asset, whatever fees generated by the sale gets paid first. Who gets paid second? Who gets paid second? The secured party who's foreclosing. The satisfaction of the obligation secured by the security interest or agricultural lien under which the disposition was made. Under which the disposition was made is a reference to the fact that whoever is foreclosing, they get paid. Okay? Who gets paid next? All the other secured parties?
Any subordinate security.
Subordinate secured parties. Subordinate. So if we're talking in mortgage language, first mortgage, second mortgage, third mortgage. If the second mortgage forecloses, does the second mortgage have to pay off the third mortgage with the excess? Yes. So let's say the second mortgage is $20,000 and you sell the house for $100,000. Where's the $80,000 go? Right, you paid off the expenses, you now pay off the second mortgage. Who do you pay next? The first mortgage or the third mortgage? The third mortgage, the subordinate liens, the lower liens. Does any money go to the superior lien? No. The holder of the superior lien gets nothing out of the foreclosure by a subordinate lien. So if a second, I'm just going to say mortgage, even though this is not a real estate class, but I think everybody understands the language of first, second, and third mortgages. If a second mortgagee forecloses and there's excess money, they pay off the third mortgagee. They pay nothing to the first mortgagee. And that's consistent here, right? You pay off the subordinate liens, not the superior liens. Okay. So this is where they should have calculated the $3,200. And here's D, where they tell us how we calculate it, right? The security interest is made secure as payment of performance of an obligation. They are permitted to apply or pay, they have to, under D1, they pay over any excess to the debtor. Or, and remember, who's the debtor? Person who has an interest in the collateral. Does it include the obligor? Maybe, but only if the obligor and the debtor are the same person. The obligor gets nothing out of the sale, except release from the amount of the debt that was paid off. The debtor gets the excess, the owner of the property. The person with the interest in the property gets the cash. But what if there isn't enough money to for a deficiency? And that's what they're doing in this problem. They're saying, you owe us $3,200. So this is the section that says how you calculate it. Is it enough to send a letter to the debtor saying, you owe us $3,200? Is that okay? All right. She's entitled to an explanation, right? And here, we do have a consumer section. In a consumer transaction, the debtor is entitled to a surplus or where they're entitled to it. The secure party shall send an explanation to the debtor, as applicable, or consumer obligor, after disposition and before, when the secure party counts to the debtor and pays any surplus over, or makes first makes written demands to the consumer obligor after the disposition. So they have to explain themselves. Did they explain themselves? No, they just said, yo, $3,200. So what's the first thing she should do? What does 616B1B say? Make a request. Send them a letter saying, you owe me an explanation of how you came up with $3,200. I don't agree with your demand. They have 14 days to give it to her. Okay. So that's the 616. If they screw up, if they've screwed up information, like they haven't given her notice, might there be damages owed to her? Take a look at 625. And they reference this in the problem 625C and E. So 625C, this section is the remedy section. A person that, at the time of the failure, was a debtor for held security interest. And if the collateral was consumer goods, a person that was a debtor or secondary obligor, at the time the security party failed to comply with this part, may recover for that failure in any amount not less than the credit service charge. What's that? That's the interest on the loan. Plus 10%. Or the principal amount of the obligation or the time price difference plus 10% of the cash price. And E, in addition to those damages, may get $500. So if they screw this up, she's entitled to some damages under 625. Okay. Let's take a second here and just summarize what came out of this problem, okay? So, she's entitled to reasonable notice of the sale. If she doesn't get it, that's a breach. Maybe entitled to damages under 625. There's no provision in Article 9 that states what the reasonable notice provision is for consumers. It's 10 days safe harbor for non-consumer transactions, but consumer transactions we don't know. That's because the courts are allowed to give more, too, okay? She also has a right, oh, and before we get there, if you look at Section 614, Section 614 sets out the notice that she is entitled to get. There is a safe harbor with respect to the contents of the notice, and that's 614 in consumer transactions. It's 613 in non-consumer transactions. So if you're a secure party and you send a letter that sets out the information contained in Section 614, then you sent adequate notice by definition. Okay? 616, she's entitled to an explanation of how much she owes as a deficiency. And she's entitled to an explanation of how they calculate it. The section that tells us how you calculate it is 615. 616 tells us that you're entitled to an explanation of that. Is that good? Then, oops, sorry. Okay. What about the fact that the price is low? She says 3,200 isn't enough. Is a low price by itself proof that the sale was not commercially reasonable? Just remember, I think it's 610, right? 610 says that all aspects of the sale have to be reasonable. 610. Every aspect of a disposition of a collateral, including the method, manner, time, place, and other terms, must be commercially reasonable. If it's not commercially reasonable, you go to 625 and you might get damages, right? In fact, we'll look at 626 in a minute. 627 says, however, the fact that a greater amount could have been obtained by collection, enforcement, disposition, or acceptance is not itself sufficient to preclude the secured party from establishing that the collection is commercially reasonable. So 2 questions. Who has the burden of proof to prove that it was commercially reasonable? Nobody? Who's required to establish that the sale was commercially reasonable? The secured party, yes. Now, second, is a low price by itself enough to establish that the sale was unreasonable? No. Okay. So she's looking at $3,200. What did she sell? Or what did the secured party sell? Where would you look to see what the value of the car was? The Kelley Blue Book, right? You go online, you'd see what the price of the value of the car was at the time of the sale according to the Blue Book. If it's $4,000, is it going to be commercially unreasonable? If it's $12,000, would that suggest that there's a problem with the sale? Yes. So you have 2 pieces of information: the price that it was sold at, and what it was selling for elsewhere. Who bought the collateral in the problem? The secured party did. Yeah. The secured party bought the collateral. How can that possibly be okay? Is that okay? Why is it okay? Because it says so. Hopefully you're, at this point, the 14th week of the semester, most of the answers to these questions are in the code, okay? Not always. Like, how much is reasonable notice for consumer? Not in the code. Not in. What is the definition of breach of the peace? Not in the code. What is commercially reasonable? They tell us that it has to be commercially reasonable. They don't establish what is, but they give us some situations where they have defaults. So, like, if you include the notice in 613 or 614, you say what the statute says the letter should say, it's commercially reasonable. Okay? If you give a non-consumer debtor 10 days notice of the intent to sell, it's commercially reasonable. There are some safe harbors, but they don't define all of these things. Can a secured party buy at the foreclosure sale? Yes. But there's 2 conditions. One, it's either a public disposition. So what's public? Auction. And there we feel like, okay, there's no disadvantage. They're as good a bidder as anybody else. Can they buy at a private sale? Only if what?
I just remember the case or something that we read, because I think the person bought it and like nobody else showed up to bid. Like you have to actually have other people bidding.
Right. So the public sale has to be reasonable, right? The public disposition has to be commercially reasonable. Can you buy a private sale?
Yes, if the collateral is tied for this.
Yeah, you're reading on the second. Give me an example. No, you're exactly right.
If you're able to.
What would be an example of collateral that would fit 610C2?
A car. I mean, like,
But that would be usually, so how would a car fit in that?
if there's other cars available on the market, then you determine what the price of that car should
Are they
be.
regularly sold on a recognized market? Where do you usually buy cars?
Well, in today's world, all over the place, there's people that have
I understand, but
machines,
do people typically go to a public marketplace and bid against other sellers at the time to buy it?
Car auction?
Yeah. But consumers are not allowed to car auctions. You have to be an accredited buyer usually to go to a car auction, right? I don't think cars actually fit.
What do you think of houses, mortgage?
I'm thinking stock. The New York Stock Exchange. The point of 610C2 is that there's no argument about what the price is. If you sell 100 shares of AT&T stock, how do you know what the price was on any given day? Where would you find that price? Yeah, you go to the New York Times, you go to the Wall Street Journal, you go to some nationally recognized publication that publishes prices for stock. So they buy a private sale, but it's on a recognized market. And although cars have auctions, they're not the way people typically buy cars. Usually it's one-on-one, not in a public auction. And what they're talking about here is, in the New York Stock Exchange is such a big marketplace that it's rare that any one investor can move the market in any significant amount. So if you're a secured party and you have 100 shares of AT&T and you sell it, the market dictates the price. Right? There's no private negotiation between 2 parties. You just go to the marketplace and say, I got 100 shares, and it sells. You can do that if you're the secured party. You can buy and just pay that price, right? Go to the New York Times, go to the Wall Street Journal, go to, well, I don't know, who does indexes for a stock now online? Who would we trust? Dow Jones, I think, probably has an index. That's the Wall Street Journal, essentially. You'd be fine. You just pay that price. What's the closing price on a given day? You pay that price. Okay. So, the suspiciously low price here would be evidenced by probably the Kelley Blue Book. So the cars were for 12, and the secured party bought for 3,200. Yeah, it doesn't work. No. Now, even if they violate this, but they got the full value of the car, it may not be unreasonable. They may have gotten a good price. They may have paid a good price. Okay. 137. Oh man, I'm going too slow. We got 3 minutes. Let me tell you what I think is important from problem 137. Everybody who's involved is entitled to notice. So problem A, 137A is everybody under 611C2 is entitled to notice. Oral notice is not enough. It says send notice. That's what the statute says. Send. There is an exception. Stock was sold on a recognized market. No notice is required. That's an exception. The statute says that. The equipment, however, does require notice. 617 says if you buy from somebody who is selling foreclosed property, you take it free of anybody else's interest except for senior. Right? So anybody who is being foreclosed on, so the secured party and any subordinate secured parties, you take free of that. Now here, it didn't look like Crowley was a good faith purchaser, so maybe that didn't work. Under question C, does the wife deserve notice? Does the wife deserve notice? She's a debtor and an obligor. Does she deserve notice of the sale? Separate notice. Yes. So that would violate her rights. Everybody who is entitled to notice should get notice. It's probably okay to send notice to the 2 people through the same notice if they live at the same address, but it's risky it's better to send individual notice to everybody. That way you don't run afoul of it. Question D, what about the fact that there was a return of notice? That the person is clear that they didn't get the mail. The answer there is probably isn't commercially reasonable. All right, I'll finish this up next time. All right, so I'll see you on Friday. I just realized now I didn't hand in the sign-in sheet today. Oh well, it looks like everybody's here. So. On Friday, as you're leaving, I will give more information about the exam at class on Friday. I will record class on Friday in case there are people who can't make it. So you will have that. Again, my intent is for it to be an essay-only exam, whether that's shorter essays or longer essays. I'm still working out, but that's, there's not going to be multiple choice. It's going to be written out essays. I will have, at the Friday class, I will announce a review session next week. Classes end on Tuesday, right? So Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday, one of those days, I'll find a time where I have a space of time and I'll do a review as well. But on Friday, I'll finish up these problems and we'll look at the exam that I put on the website. So you can take a look at those questions. We'll go through them together, okay? So we'll do that on Friday. So my plan on Friday is from 12 to 12:30, finish up the problems and just emphasize the stuff I want you to know. And then from 12:30 to 11:30 to 12:05, we'll review that exam that I posted. So if you take a few minutes before class on Friday and review it, I will go over it. And I will also post a sample answer form. So you'll have that too. Yeah, regular time, nothing unusual, just 10:50 to 12:05. And I will schedule a review session for next week. And you can send me email. And you can post questions on the Blackboard site. It is on Tuesday, December 3rd at 9 a.m. That's my recommendation.
So I,
Yes.